Welcome to the stream. Let me know how you guys are doing. If this is your first time here, my name is Alex, and if you're interested in electric car related stuff, you're in the right place. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. And this stream is sponsored by EV and today we are talking about Q3 quarterly results and there's a lot to talk about. Is I did a stream yesterday, and it was about what to expect. I'm kind of happy to know that pretty much everything that I was talking about yesterday was exactly what they talked about on their conference call today. I listened in on the whole thing, and there weren't that many surprises, but there was one surprise that I was kind of it was quite interesting because Elon, without even taking questions at first, wanted to address the fact that a lot of journalists covered the layoffs that they had at the company and speculated there were some ulterior motives that the company had to fire those employees. Some were suggesting that it's because they were trying to form the union. Some were suggesting that those employees were fired for some other reasons that are not either legal or ethical or stuff like that. And I have to say that, so Elon literally yelled shame at those reporters. Well, he didn't yell, but he said it was a low integrity journalism. He called them out, and I have to say that I haven't really heard him ever be this upset. So I'm assuming that out of all things he could have called people out on, if he's calling them out on this particular thing, I think it was something that maybe was close to his heart, and he wanted to address that straight up, and he was obviously upset about it. Now I have to say that almost every outlet that I follow and the YouTuber who covers Tesla and electric cars have addressed this, but no one really took sides. I actually took Tesla's side, and you guys know that I'm not here to please Elon. I'm actually here to please you guys as my viewers by providing you, true information and giving you my true opinion, and also asking you guys for yours. But every time the story came out, I was very much on Tesla's side because I'm here in Silicon Valley, and this is not an uncommon practice to let go of your employees who are not performing well. You do those reviews either once a year for the entire company or every year since that employee started. And then you have layoffs, and that's perfectly fine. I think the total was only a couple of % of the entire company. And to be honest with you, I think it's a good practice. I wish more companies would do that. I wish Starbucks on the corner would do that. I would wish the Home Depot for sure would do a lot of that. That way, basically, these are the people who are getting on our way of getting our Model 3s. That's what it is. And there are no evidence that this is something that there are no evidence that there was any kind of ulterior motives and some employees were targeted. Now, if there were evidence, then I'm willing to talk. But without it, it's just speculation. And I kind of have to agree with Elon. Shame on those who speculated that in any way, kind of threw more gasoline, no pun intended, on this fire. So the only person that I know who spoke about this as sort of against Tesla is this guy Ben of Teslanomics. He actually has one of the biggest Tesla related channels on YouTube, and he was pretty harsh on them, though I think his point was that they must not hire well if they have to let so many people go. Why did they hire them in the first place? I still don't agree with Ben, and I think Ben should know better. I believe he's in the high-tech industry himself, or at least used to be. He should know that obviously when you hire people, you don't know. Sometimes they're performing very high in their previous companies, but then they don't mesh with their new company policies or team or product, and they're just not a good fit. And some people just have circumstances change, and they are just not good performers, and they should be let go. I would be interested how Ben replies to this. I don't know if he even listened to the call, but Elon was definitely very upset about those who covered this negatively and gave it any kind of validation. So that was something that was interesting. Now let's dive into the numbers. Yesterday I said that most people are expecting, and most importantly Wall Street expecting, about just a bit under $3 billion revenues, and that's what they pretty much reported. They reported a little bit more than everybody expected, but the loss per share was significantly higher, about 20%. So I believe they were expecting $2.29 per share loss, and it ended up being $2.92 loss. And that the stock was already going down ever since the report in the morning and after hours. As you can see on the chart right here, it's kind of going closer to 300. And some people were saying that this is the worst quarterly report that Tesla ever had. I personally disagree. I think, if you look at it, first of all, they started making the Model 3s, and that was the biggest thing. And don't forget, originally they told us they're not going to do it until December. It's only once they unveil it in July, half a year earlier, they said, well, we're going to get to this unrealistic numbers. And I was very harsh on them, saying that was a little silly of Elon to just make those promises. And now they have to go back. And what they're saying, that they basically admitted that they're not going to be able to get to 5,000 cars per week in December. They're pushing it all the way to the end of the first quarter. So we're talking about late March, and that's where they're going to, hoping to actually produce 5,000 per year, 5,000 per week. And that's fine. It's in a bigger grand of things scheme of things is not that big of a deal, because the cars out there, we are here. I see a Model 3 on the street every other week or so now. And so they're here, and that's a big deal that they are here. He did mention that basically there are some bottlenecks, and he's literally there day and night. Looks like at the Gigafactory, and that's where the problems are. But he's saying, listen, most of our machines are operating at 1,000 parts per week, and they can produce 1,000 cars right now, but they can only go as slow as their slowest machine or slowest part. So that's the pace they're going on. Now, one of the reporters asked him, and he said, hey, can you tell us what is the rate right now? And he did everything to not tell us what it is. I think rightfully so. He said, listen, if I tell you what we did this week, it means nothing in terms of what we're going to do next week, because things change so fast, and it's kind of hard to estimate when we make these cars. Like we made some of the parts this week and other parts next week. So when did this car really come around? So I think he's okay with that. I mean, like he's okay not telling us. He said that by the end of the year he'll start giving those numbers. So it's fair enough. He also addressed an issue of let's talk a little bit more about Model 3. So they did update the numbers. So they actually didn't sell 260. They sell 222, which is even less than they promised. But he did point out that, hey guys, we actually had the record sales for Model S and Model X, and those are doing very well. And we're going to continue doing very well. So it's a good quarter. I think it's a great quarter. I mean, yeah, the numbers are not the greatest, but look, they're doing it. The Model 3 is out there, they're on the road, they're doing it, and yes, we'll get them a little bit later, which by the way reminds me, so this is the email that I received. I'm sure all of you guys received who are on the reservation list. As you can see right here, it basically is saying thank you for reserving the car, and that they are going to be delivered a little bit later that we promised. Just kind of a short email, and they basically said that they're basically admitting that it's going to be pushed a little bit back. So I mean, I thought it was a nice email, but this is, by the way, one of the Model 3s that I've seen. This is at the factory, and I think I've seen total 20 or 30 Model 3s. So that's kind of real for me. I don't know if any of you guys have seen. Well, by the way, let me know in the chat if you guys have seen the Model 3. So I say just the fact that they put them on the road is already a big win. And yes, Gray, you're right. 10 million in debt, 3.5 billion in cash, but they're saying they're going to end up the year, I think, with only about $1 billion in cash, which is okay, because I mean, they got to spend all this money, and they've raised a lot of money this year to create the assembly for the Model 3. Oh, another good point that he made, actually, he said, listen, Well, one reporter asked him, said, listen, you said this car is going to be very simple to make. Why are you having all these problems that compared to Model S and Model X? And Elon says a very interesting thing. And again, I wish he would say that before this comes out, right? But he said something interesting. He said, listen, it's an easy car to make once we're making it, but we're not fully automated to make it. And the reason it's easy is because all of these robots, all of this machine, all this processes are going to be in place. And then it's going to be easy. Now it's really, really hard. As a matter of fact, it's harder than the Model S and the Model X because you have to get all this automation right, all these robots right, all these things to go completely 100% right, so it's all automated. So that kind of made sense, but I wish he would have explained that earlier, maybe at the unveiling, maybe on the previous conference call for the Q2, because when he just said, "Oh, it's going to be production hell," that's every people pick that up because it's kind of a cool saying, but it's this was a more reasonable explanation. Greg Shaw says buy, and I probably don't disagree with him. I don't give financial advice. I'm not qualified, but yes, $300 sounds like probably not bad if we're going to be looking a year ahead. So welcome from Spain, by the way. It looks like so many people are watching from all kinds parts of the world. So that's about Model 3. He also mentioned about Solar City because people did ask him about Solar City, asking about, hey, when are you going to sort of have the solar products out there? And he gave a kind of a wishy-washy answer, like, well, we're working on it. And he was like, well, my house has a solar roof and it looks great, but he didn't really give any particular estimations, which kind of worrisome, right? Because I was actually excited when I bought Solar City. I thought there will be a lot of great products coming out, and like, by the way, as a referral program, I when I got to the certain level, I ordered the Powerwall just recently, and it looks like they're not even shipping the Powerwall. So I don't know what's going on. Solar Roof. Also, I didn't get that notification about getting that because of the referral program. So I wish there was a better answer, and the answer he gave was not really good, I thought. And another thing that was asked, and I think I also covered it yesterday, Autopilot. The question was asked, hey, looks like other companies are doing a little bit better than you, and looks like they're passing you a little bit in that technology. And Elon did say that, hey, we got the hardware, and this is the hardware that we believe are going to be able to have the autonomous driving with. And he also said one weird thing is, hey, if it's not, we're going to upgrade the hardware in the cars that need it. I know he said that before, so I mean, I know he'll probably be true to his word, but just the fact that they're still not 100% sure makes me a little bit uneasy. And he said there will be a few features, next level features coming up in the next few months, but that's all he said. He didn't really address the fact that the competition is really catching up, especially Chevy Bolt and a few other technologies. One guy literally said, hey, I'm here at the NVIDIA conference, or at a conference where NVIDIA is presenting a computer that's like 100 times faster than yours. So that was a little bit bold of him, and I thought it was kind of cool, but Elon did not really, it didn't really faze him. So those were the things that they talked about. Again, you can interpret it many different ways. Yes, Model 3 stuff is disappointing, but on the other hand, don't forget they are ahead of themselves. So it's actually good news that they're on the road, and then they're doing it, and the bottlenecks will be solved. It looks like they figured it out. Yesterday I talked about Panasonic CEO pointing out that they are specifically, I guess, have something to do with batteries and not a full automation. God knows if it's really the thing, because Elon did not mention that today, and I think that report is not mentioning it. So so that's where we are. I think this was a good report. I know the stock has been tanking a little bit, but then you guys are right. Gray just said it. Just go ahead and buy it if you think that's low. I think it's low. I just bought a house. I can't really buy more stock at this point. I know Tesla stock has been good to me. I think my first one I bought at $99. But that's obviously up to you. Let's see. Somebody just said they did not see the Model 3 in Houston yet. I mean, yeah, they're mainly in Silicon Valley, but people spotted them, I think, in New York and a few other cities. But but it looks like they're delivering more and more. I think people are seeing some of the Model 3s in 2000s as far as the VIN number is concerned. Let's see. Steve, I'm sure they laugh at Steve Jobs. Well, people compare Elon Musk to Steve Jobs. I I'm not a big fan of Steve Jobs just because personally I thought he could have been a nicer guy. So I don't like when people compare him to Steve Jobs, but at the same time, I have compared Tesla Model 3 to an iPhone. So I think there is a parallel. They're definitely changing the industry and pushing the entire industry and all industries around them forward. So I guess in some sense you're right, right? And Elon Musk, just like you're right, Ray, Steve Jobs was a visionary, and Elon Musk is pushing. And look at what's been happening last couple of months. Every single company, pretty much car manufacturers said, and others, the battery making companies, LG is in the game, Toshiba is in the game, but all this kind of startups are being financed with hundreds of $millions with to produce electric cars. So Elon Musk dragged everybody into this whole new world, and you're right, he's a visionary. I mean, I think he's probably one of the most inspiring people in the world, and one of the most important people in the world, because I feel like he is changing it in some ways. And listen, I don't agree with him on a lot of things. I mean, if you watch my channel, you know that I've not always been on his side on some of the issues, but bottom line is, we're in the same team. It's an electric a car, green energy team, and he's definitely ahead of everybody. And we'll see what he does next. Oh yeah, so Tebowski78 points out to the video that I made a few weeks ago, maybe now 2 months ago, where I kind of did a news report if Tesla was bought by Apple. I thought it was kind of a funny video. Not everybody thought it was funny because they actually woke up to that video popping up on their phones or whatever news feeds, and it freaked them out. It would freak me out. If you want to see that video, check it out. It's on my channel. I thought it was kind of funny. Trasset says, what is incredible is the $35,000 car and a Model 3 are converted to 40,000 euros, even euros more expensive than $1. You know what? I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure if they priced it in Europe just yet. I'm sure the conversion will be done at the time of the sale, or at least at the time of whenever they price the car. So I haven't heard that they've priced it at 40,000 euros just yet. Ben Dixon says, tell me about your watches. I'm ashamed to say that I literally just came from a hockey game, so I'm wearing my Fitbit and not one of my watches. I take pride in my watch collection, but I will make sure that I'm wearing one tomorrow in my live feed. Alex says, SpaceX just launched a South Korean satellite, which is a mixed news. It means that South Korea is scaling down to their own state space program. I haven't been trying. I've been trying not to cover SpaceX as much. I know it's Elon Musk, which is Tesla, which is electric cars. It's just so many news are happening electric cars world along, and I feel like SpaceX is a little bit different from that. But certainly it is amazing that this guy is also not only making these cars, but also drilling tunnels under Los Angeles. And launching, spaceships, and not so much launching, landing them vertically on a platform in the ocean. I mean, it just tells you how impressive this guy is, and I would bet on this guy anytime. And I've bought stock, as I mentioned before, and this is my third time on my third Tesla, so I'm not worried at this point. I just wish he wouldn't tweet stuff that is a little bit overly optimistic. Is all I'm saying. It's a little Trumpy for my taste, I have to say. Let's see. Thank you, Mitchell Barno. I appreciate it. Greg says, hoping that Wisconsin passes a law to let Tesla sell here. It's amazing that we're still here, where some states don't allow Tesla to sell directly to consumers. I mean, I understand that some of them have stricter laws about it, but I would have assumed that they would be I don't want to assume anything. It's actually at this time of the, this year, but I think those will be resolved sooner or later. And if anything, it only gives Tesla, I think, advantage and hype and marketing edge because we're talking about it and people want something that they can't have, something that's taboo, right? So if Tesla is not being sold somewhere, I bet people want to have it 10 times as much. And I think those states are, did you mention Wisconsin? I lost that. But those are usually not the states, except for maybe Texas, that you would expect a lot of sales of Tesla anyway. And it's not that they're having trouble selling. They're selling a lot of them in China. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if China will end up buying more cars. I mean, Tesla will end up selling more cars in China than they do here in the United States and Europe, because China is really taking this stuff seriously. They're funding a lot of startups doing green energy and electric cars. They are allowing Tesla to build their factory that wholly owned, which is very rare. And they are passing laws and trying to outlaw sales of gas cars. And I think it's going to start in 2019, where if you're importing or making cars in China, I think 10% of your fleet will have to be electric, fully electric or hybrid. So that's pretty strict. Tibowski 78 says, I think Tesla is just Elon's plot to offset all the CO2 rockets are producing when they burn millions of pounds of. Okay, fair enough. But I think sooner or later those rockets are also going to be electric. And I think that's where it's going. Gray says, yes, Alex, China is killing it right now. And, I wish we would be. I mean, California has been leading the way here, and we have, pretty cool laws and incentives, but I really wish we would step up as a country. And, and I wish Europe would do the same, because I just was talking about it yesterday that Norway, out of all places, is the country that's leading in percentage, and not even percentage, I think in sales of electric cars and hybrids in Europe. So I really wish that even Europe would step up. But listen, things are going well in electric car market, as I think everyone's finally seeing that electric cars are not only like, green energy, environmentally friendly. I think a lot of people are going to be buying them because they're just better cars. More and more reports are coming out that they are safer, that they're more technologically advanced, they don't lose as much of their value. And these are things that have nothing to do with them being electric cars. And I think a lot of the next generation of consumers will end up just saying, hey, I just want to buy this car, Chevy Bolt or Tesla or Model 3, whatever, just because it's a better car than the other one I was looking at. And I get to save on gas. I think that's what is going to be happening. I know the first batch of us was kind of tree huggers, and we're doing it for the better of the world and stuff. But I think the newer generation of electric car buyers is really just about buying really good cars that they like better than the gas cars. Alex Z says, you should have a late night news show about the new Musk company. I'm kind of doing it now. I know I did my, I started at 9:30 p.m. Here Pacific time. I'm just trying different times and see where most of you guys are most comfortable with. And I have to admit, I did have a hockey game to play earlier, so this worked out. And but I will try to find the right time. I'm probably going to try something different on Saturday. I'm probably going to try to do it at noon, and maybe same on Sunday. We'll figure it out. I certainly know there's plenty of news. I mean, I have like 3 other news that I have in queue that I'm going to talk about tomorrow, because I just don't have time today. Obviously, today is all about Tesla's quarterly reports. T. Colley 100 says, Tesla has single-handedly moved the needle regarding electric cars and renewable energies. Absolutely agree. He or she continues, companies who primarily sell and focus upon ICE vehicles, that's gas cars, will become the dinosaurs of our time. They probably won't, because they will all change sooner or later. A lot of them are realizing it now. I believe last week I did a story on Shell gas stations that are now, Shell bought a company, one of the largest, if not the largest, company that makes electric car chargers. So they are moving that direction because they don't want to become dinosaurs. But yes, if they are not going to move now, they probably will. Though I think they will move. Greg Shaw says, hope gas goes up, he'll win. Tressa says, new Nissan Leaf is having success here in Europe since it was launched. The key is the price, I can confirm. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Nissan Leaf. I'm going to be test driving it. I already saw it in person and I did report on it and interviewed one of their media representatives. You can find it on my channel, but also I'm going to get to actually drive it on Thursday Friday in a couple of days. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. And I know it's not going to be here in the United States as far as them selling it until January. But it's interesting that in Europe it's already. I mean, I'm not really that surprised. It's a pretty decent car. And in Europe, these distances are shorter, so the range doesn't matter as much as it does here in the United States, and especially in California, where we do drive a lot. Everything's kind of spread out. But one thing I do have to say, they screwed up on their active thermal management system, which they don't have one. So that's something they're going to have to solve very quickly, especially because Tesla and the Chevy Bolt have it, and it's kind of a big deal. For those of you who don't know, it's the system that cools the battery down actively by putting let's say liquids, for the lack of a better word, through the battery to make sure it doesn't overheat. And if you don't do that, like Nissan doesn't, the battery degradation is pretty high, and the battery capacity goes reduces very quickly, much like you probably notice in some of your cell phones. If you keep it for over 2 years, it just doesn't charge fully, and that's a problem. Let's see. Do you own a Tesla? Kelly Clark asks. Yes, I own 2 Teslas. Now, the very first one that I bought was the original year. There were only 3,000 of us. I was one of the first batch of 2012, and that was an 85. I sold it. It was signed by Elon. I actually took that part, which was the visor, out, and it's hanging on my wall behind me, actually. And but now I have a 70D, which I drive most of the time, and my girlfriend drives a regular 60, and one is black and another one is white. We're probably going to switch one of them to a Model 3 because she doesn't drive as much, and when we together on weekends we drive one car, obviously. But for now we absolutely love them. Do you own one, Kelly? And if so, what type? By the way, if you guys don't mind, let me know what kind of a Tesla you have right now, or if you are hoping to have one in the next year or two. I would love to know what it is and what color it is. Let's see. Oh, I see. It's my girlfriend answering to Kelly. Okay. Astros won, Jesse Mosa says. All right, that's unfortunate for LA, I guess. Can I petition to keep my Model 3? I want to keep my Model S. Oh, I see. Yes, I was reading it, didn't realize that my girlfriend. So I would like her to have a Model 3, but she wants to keep her Model S. Rightful. I mean, I understand. So we'll see. I just want to have one of each, and I think like the Model 3 we would take on the longer trips, because I don't want to take a Model S on a longer trip. It's kind of weird. I think it's too luxury of a car to take on a longer trip, but we're going to have to figure out. We have about a year until we have to decide. Let's see. Felipe says, hi, I'm from Luxembourg. Hello, how are you? What time is it over there? I'm assuming it's morning. It is 10 o'clock here, 10 p.m. here in San Jose, California, Pacific time. All right, well, guys, I'm going to try to wrap this up. I am going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to try to go on at around 7:30 again. I will check my schedule and see, and I'll also check how many people watch the stream today. Now, it looks like about 50 right now in the room. And I'll figure something out, but I will make sure I'll post it within an hour or so. Tiboski78 says, I have a Model 3 reserve that I should be receiving sometime next year, and I'm probably waiting for the dual motor version. Yes, if you're waiting for a dual motor version, you're at least a year away. But if you really want one, it's probably worth waiting for. I have one of my cars is a dual motor version, but I only got it because it increases the range. And judging by the price of the regular one and the dual motor one, it was just a better deal for me. So that's why I got it. All right, guys, I'm gonna sign off. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button. And if you have, thank you. But don't forget to click on the bell notification icon down there as well, so you don't miss anything moving forward. Thank you so much for joining me. I had fun once again. Thank you for everybody who was chatting in live chat. I will see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.